Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special fireside. I'm Tom Matsuda, Sifted's Fintech reporter, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Lucy Liu, co-founder and president of business banking and payments fintech Airwallex. So we're here to talk about everything Airwallex, dive into your journey as a founder, and I'm also going to throw in some sort of big picture questions about the state of fintech too. We only have around, I can see now, just over 21 minutes. I'm just going to kick off straight away. So Lucy, your entry into the company was, I guess, quite unusual for a founder, right? So it's been reported that around age 25, you wrote a $1 million personal check to kickstart Airwallex after your co-founder, Jack Zhang, pitched you over dinner at a restaurant in Melbourne. Can you tell me a bit more about that night? I mean, what gave you kind of the confidence to make such a big bet over dinner?
Yeah, so actually it was one of the last talked about stories of Airwallex until this year. Because frankly speaking, I just don't remember that much about what happened.
Okay.
But I guess at that time, like you said, I was 25. A lot of it I attribute to overconfidence and just simply like that impulse of doing something. And turns out that it was a very unique timing in payments and in fintech, because when we first started, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. The only thing that we knew at that time was that there was a problem, and clearly there should be a solution to it.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, I was taking a career break. I was exploring around. I was very close to becoming a VC, so on the investor front. But I think for this opportunity specifically, I get to be an investor as well as a founder.
Right.
And
what was what was the business pitch that convinced you? Like, okay, 1 million, I'll sign that over. Like, what did Jack say?
What did Jack say? I think Jack was. I don't think it's specifically what he said. It's more about how passionate he was about this.
Okay.
And I think, like, my experience is you want to know your co-founder, but you don't want to know them too well. So for Jack and I, the chemistry was like, I think I really believed in what he was doing. I knew Max, our other co-founder, a lot better than I know Jack.
And that's because you attended University of Melbourne?
Yes, so they're in a few years ahead of me. And I think at that time, it was just pure ambition. And I think I always believed that if you want to do something, do something big.
Right.
So I think we got chatting and we thought, what was the first thing that we need to do? We need to fundraise. This fact, me putting in the $1 million, we also needed more money to actually build the infrastructure that we wanted to build, the right licenses, and I think it's just logically Jack had a lot of business acumen that really touched me. And I think also me investing myself into the business was also why I thought...
Skin in the game, right?
Yeah, the skin in the game is very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were those early days like? Whether I guess like you had 5 co-founders on board, right? Like how did you turn the initial idea for Airwallex into a real product?
So first of all, I actually don't know how a lot of solo founders do it. Because I feel like they just have to do so many things all at once by themselves. I was lucky that we had a team of 5 people, and between the 5 of us, 3 were from software engineering background. So obviously our CTO, Jacob, our principal architect, Keylog, and Jack were on the technology front. Max was on the design, and I was doing everything from making coffee, building our first computer, banking relationships, BD, so anything you can think of.
Were there any sort of, like, I guess, hard lessons or near failures in Airwallex first year, and how did you kind of navigate through them?
So this year is our 10th year. I'm actually attending our 10th year anniversary party next week. And we were reflecting on the 10 year and was like, our employees and team members really want to hear about the near-death experiences that we had. We've had, we did our math where I think there was like 3 or 4 every single year. From, customer cases where they, complaints to, Silicon Valley Bank.
Right.
Incidents. We had a lot of money with Silicon Valley Bank at that time. We had a 404 error when we were doing our Series A pitch to Tencent.
Oh,
so
okay.
Jack was demoing our
as in like on the
yes.
pitch deck? Okay.
So he was demoing our platform.
Yeah.
And literally just came up as 404 page cannot be found.
Gosh, no.
But our investor was actually very supportive of us, and they thought maybe it's a firewall thing because Tencent also has its own payment company, so maybe it's blocking. So we actually don't know.
But they still invested in the company after that, right?
Trying to report us and.
Okay.
So everything, and then we just became so resilient to these things. These things that happened to us were like,
Which competitors reported you? Like, what was going on there?
I cannot say which. I cannot name who reported us, but I guess it's it's just market competition and people being jealous and
okay. And obviously, Airwallex's core product, right, is this global kind of payments network that makes it easy for businesses to move money globally. And I know that basically to create this, right, you basically lived on a plane in the first few years, right, and hopped around different countries to obtain different licenses globally. Can you tell me a little bit more about that time? Like, how did you navigate getting so many different licenses across different markets, which all have their own different rules and regulations?
So I think our experience is actually very similar to the product experience that we're building for our customers.
Yeah.
So in order for any business to operate globally, you first need bank accounts in the country that you operate in, local entities, ability to collect local currencies, but also make international payments in different currencies and coming to compliance and risk management, so that's regulator and license related. So I spent, I guess, maybe 80-90% of my time just being on a plane and flying to different countries to get that set up. And, coming back to what we actually did was that we simplified that for our customers. And I often say I wished I had Airwallex when I started Airwallex right. Because then I don't need to travel so much to open bank accounts because now our customers can do it on their laptop within minutes and not months. And anyone who sort of had that experience of setting up your financial operations in different countries will know that, it's just such a painful experience to get that, it's because the rules are different. The market is so fragmented so even for regions like Europe or like Southeast Asia, we often say it's EU, but then it's still very different in each country. But
you focused mainly on the kind of APAC region, right?
Yes, at that time it was very
that intentional?
APAC. I guess it was also driven by the fact that some of our early ecosystem partners were some of the regional banks in APAC. And then we were also driven by where our customers were expanding into. And so a lot of them were very APAC focused, but also I think because we built that infrastructure, a lot of the US and European companies that are looking to expand into APAC also look to us to help them with their APAC operations.
And obviously, as we spoke about, right, you wrote this sort of initial $1 million check to get things off the ground. But fast forward to today, and Airwallex has raised more than $1.2 billion in funding. You're currently at a $6.2 billion valuation, and you've received backing from some of the world's top VC investors, including Sequoia and DST Capital, DST Global. I guess. How did you kind of convince those international investors to take a bet on, I guess what they maybe have perceived as an Australian fintech? Do you think like having that sort of international edge that you were speaking about really helped in conversations with speaking investors?
So I think at different stages of our fundraising journey, the focus was slightly different. Yeah. So definitely for the pre-AA and Series B, early stages, we were pre-revenue at that time. So a lot of it was about convincing the investors to believe in the infrastructure that we were building, and how this actually, the infrastructure is important because it actually allows you to scale. And going into like Series C, D, then it became more metric focused. Whether you can, your incremental, like your unit econometrics, and also whether you recommend any incremental revenue that you're earning it through a cheaper way. And we've proven that we're able to do that. So, going from there onwards, it was very much like numbers focused, showing the growth, showing that we can consistently grow 70, 80, 90% year on year, even though the base number was growing so quickly. And we can do it in multiple regions across different diversified market segments. We're not vertical focused, so we're not very reliant on one revenue stream. And, many people know that we started in money movements, but now we're also going into treasury management, spend management, and more of the like banking related products, and we can still scale our growth. So I think that's where investors really see a lot of value in investing in us.
And during those early days as well, you turned down a $1 billion acquisition by Stripe, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit more about that decision? I guess it could be helpful here for maybe the founders who are deliberating whether they would take an acquisition offer or not.
That actually coincided with our Series C. So it was the end of 2018, I think, only 3 years after we founded the business. I think the logic is quite straightforward, right? Like we never founded Airwallex with the intention to sell it. At least not one. I often say it's like raising a baby. It's like it's not even in primary school yet, and you're like letting it go. So we just also, I think personality-wise, we're all very committed to this, and the four of us, basically made the decision that we just don't want to sell. And we also had a chat with our investors and was if you need money, if you need funding, then just go into fundraising again. I think we have the necessary numbers to prove ourselves, and so here we are 7 years later.
Right. Okay. I'm guessing there's no regrets about rejecting that offer then.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And if you don't want to be bought, what do you see as like the future for the company? I know, there's obviously rumors that Airwallex is IPO bound. Like, what do you foresee to happen?
So, I guess we never really make valuation and IPO like a goal of the business. We want to be able to go public with a purpose.
Okay.
So, it also is very depending on the macro environment as well. So whether the market is, like we talked about this slightly, like, before we went on stage, that, every technology has had its, ups and downs. And in terms of like the valuation, it's very market dependent. A company can be valued at the same valuation, like at different stages of its life, but then doing completely different revenue numbers. It's just because the multiples are different and the market determined. So I think for us, the focus remains that we want to do what we do globally. There's still a little bit of an area on the roadmap that we want to expand into. So for us, the focus at the moment is UAE and LATAM. Because we do see these as the emerging markets of the next stages of growth for global companies. And a little bit on AI. So I think, we do want to be a AI-driven and AI-native company that is helping our customers really automate that financial operations. So deepening our product offerings to provide a more unified platform so that our customers don't have to juggle between different SaaS and different banks and different financial partners. So so I think that is what we are heading towards, and then the next stage of growth.
So you're saying at the moment the focus is more on international expansion and product expansion at the moment, not really thinking of an IPO happening in the near future.
Sorry, what's the question? Can you
that you're more focused on expanding, right, and looking ahead in the business rather than
I think IPO will happen naturally, depending on. We want to be IPO ready, so we've also always talked about being IPO ready next year. But once we do expect to go public, then it will be very dependent on the external environment.
And so earlier this month, right, you reached 1 billion in annualized run rate revenue. But and from what I understand, because you've sort of been prioritizing this sort of hyper-growth phase, you're not yet profitable, right? As you've sort of been reinvesting in the business. I guess, how do you think about that kind of trade-off between profitability and expansion today? Like, how do you sort of balance the books in that way?
So we actually became cash flow positive almost 2 years ago now, so end of 2023. But last year we decided to start really pushing our brand awareness. So we started doing a lot more sponsorships and brand campaigns. So last year we became a sponsor of McLaren Racing, and this year also Arsenal. So and we really see a lot of paybacks in these investments. So I think for us the balance is that we can be profitable whenever we want to. But also fueling the growth with the money that we make in terms of revenue, but also like the money we raised to do more acquisitions to really supercharge the growth that we're still experiencing right now. So talking about the 1 billion ARR number, it was only 1 year ago that it was 500 million. So it took us 9 years to get 500 million, but only 1 year to get the additional 500 million. So it just proves that, everything that we did in terms of the infrastructure first, the bets that we made in terms of localization really worked out. And so going forward, I think that remains the strategy for us. I do think we are a very disciplined company when it comes to spending the money. And a lot of it is very number driven, and we just double down on the investments that we see value in, and in the markets that we are getting the returns from.
At what point do you say, okay, it's kind of time to prioritize sustained profitability over growing? Like what? Are there any specific metrics that you need to reach, or any specific goals that you have in mind for the company? So
I do think on our forecasts, profitability will actually happen very naturally because we're just growing at such a bit high rate at the moment. So we are just letting it happen, whenever that happens. But we do see, like, because of the volatility in the market, we do still see a lot of probably opportunities in M&A. So that sort of is also another way of thinking. Do we bring in extra companies into the so that we grow faster? So this year we bought a company in the US called OpenPay. So the founder is actually now leading our agentic finance and AI product. So so I think it really profitability can happen wherever we want it, but right now the focus is on growth.
And in terms of that sort of strategy that you have for M&A, what sort of companies are you looking to buy, and in what geographies are they based?
So up till this year, most of the acquisitions has been for the license. So there are certain geos that license application will just take forever, or the regulators are not giving out any new licenses. So for example, Mexico, Vietnam, these companies that we bought are only for compliance and regulatory reasons. OpenPay is probably the first one that we brought in the founder to become part of our core team, and also for the engineers to join our engineering team as well. And then I think that is where we are exploring at the moment. So we're just bringing extra smart people into the business to balance out our talent acquisition, because sometimes it's just a lot faster, and there's a lot of synergies and a lot of value added for their product to come into the Airwallex platform as well.
Are you looking at any sort of potential acquisition targets in Europe?
We are. So the founders also have a VC on the side called Capital 49. So we've been investing in actually quite a few European startups that are related to what we do. And potentially also maybe down the line be acquired by Airwallex as well. So very specific SaaS companies that solves a single problem that is very targeted and or like again brings in have synergies with the Airwallex platform. So that I think that's the direction.
Okay. And I guess just to round things off, we have around 1 minute and 30 seconds. So the fintech landscape in 2025 is obviously very, very different, right, from 2015 when you founded Airwallex. What kind of big trends do you see defining the next wave of fintech, and how are you preparing for that at Airwallex?
So I think fintechs will own the user experience and the customer interaction going forward. You know, the banks will more become a back office and back-end support. There will still be a lot of collaboration between traditional finance and fintechs, but because we're really just being built in the last 10 years, we are more suitable in terms of just meeting the customer demands. And global native is definitely a big trend. So companies that are being able to, especially like European startups that just want to be in 20, 30, 40 markets from day one. That's completely achievable with the support of fintech. And lastly, also, being AI-driven and AI, it's not to replace your finance functions, but then your CFO capabilities, your financial operations will really be enhanced by having automations in place and AI-driven tools that will help you.
Okay, amazing. Lucy, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much about scaling a fintech and what's next for a fast-growing company like Airwallex. But unfortunately, that's about it for our conversation today. Thank you so much, Lucy, and thank you to our lovely audience for joining us as well.
Thank you.